What's up, guys? You're back with the next episode of J and G Podcast. I'm Jay over here, and that's G over there.
Yo, what's good?
And today we're going to have a little bit of a hybrid episode, kind of our first hybrid, where we're going to be talking about some basketball and football. I know personally, I'm a little bit more of a stronger football fan than I'm a basketball fan. I mean, I love both, but I know personally, I'm a little bit more football than basketball. But with me in the off season, how about you?
Oh yeah, I usually only really follow basketball when it's in season. Football is kind of like a year-round thing for me.
Yeah.
Free agency, stuff like that. Basketball is kind of just like, oh, this guy signed here. Unless there's like a big name free agent out there that could literally go about anywhere.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, like I said, I still love basketball, but football is definitely my go-to. So I figured today we can start with the incredible scoring surge we've been kind of seeing in the NBA the past month or so. So if you want to go ahead and lead off with what you got there.
So I went on a website. Can't remember exactly what it was, but it had all 50-point games since the new year. But we're just gonna focus on March for right now. There have been 8 50-plus point games since the beginning of March and 2 60-point games. Mm-hmm. And the 2 60-point games came in a day of each other. Cat did it on the 14th and Kyrie did it on the 15th.
Yep. There's also been quite a few 40-point games too.
Yeah, I was just looking at 50-point games, but there has been a good amount of 40-point games.
One of them was Josh Hart. Josh Hart had 44, 45.
It was something like that. It came out of nowhere.
I think that kind of shows that anybody. Oh, I don't want to say anybody, but most players in the NBA, even like your role players like Josh Hart, if they're given the opportunity to run the offense, they can score.
Oh yeah. That's
I think most players in the NBA nowadays are like you got to know your role, and that's how you get paid. But like I said, Josh Hart's a perfect example. A guy that's mostly there for just kind of rebounding and hustle. Hey, in Portland, you give him the keys to the offense, he drops 40 plus. You know what I mean? Not saying he's going to do that every game, but it just kind of shows that these guys are, no matter what role player you are, considered elite talents.
Yeah, I mean, and Saddiq Bey dropped 51 on the 17th.
Yep.
And was it like mainly jump shots?
Yep, it was only jump shots, if I recall correctly.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
On this 50-point list for March, we got LeBron, who got 50 on March 11th. Kyrie dropped 50 points on March 8th. Saddiq Bey dropped 51 on March 17th. Kevin Durant dropped 53 on March 13th. Jason Tatum dropped 54 on March 6th. LeBron dropped 56 on March 5th. Kyrie dropped 60 on the 15th. And Karl-Anthony Towns dropped 60 on March 14th. That's crazy how LeBron and Kyrie both have had multiple 50-point games this month.
Yeah. Now, I can be did Tatum have a 50 or was it a 40-point game?
Tatum had a 54-point game.
He did. Okay, I wasn't sure if I heard you say that name. But yeah, then he's had a couple of 40s, I believe, too. He's been incredible.
Since the All-Star break, it's just like he just flipped a different kind of switch.
So did that entire Celtics team. Because I think, what was it last night? They both had, him and Jaylen Brown both had 30 plus.
Yeah, and they beat the Nuggets by like 20. I think Brown had 32 and Tatum had 30.
Hey, and then I don't know if you saw that Mavericks Hornets games the other night, but that was that was wild. Luka had 37 going into the third quarter, and they were down by 20, and he didn't even play the fourth quarter, and then the Hornets ended up winning by like 20, 30 points.
Jesus,
it just that Hornets team, man. They're literally like the model of consistency too, because like obviously they won that game. But they were like, what, 35 and 35 and like perfect, like the same 500 record versus East versus what? It's so wild.
Everything was just like perfect. Their home record, away record, everything was literally just 500 split.
Yep. Which is, that team, I don't know. That I expected them to make a somewhat of a jump, but I think the team is playing better than I thought they were going to.
Yeah, I can understand that. I feel like LaMelo took another step up, and I feel like the players around him kind of took another step up. I just think they need another solidified person in there to make that jump, or really good draft pick coming up here
I
in the
think
draft.
the best thing. Well, there's two things. So one thing I love about LaMelo Ball is that I don't know, that team technically doesn't have a superstar, but I think if you look at like their star player, it's going to be LaMelo, just because like name wise.
Oh
But the
yeah,
thing I love about LaMelo is that he can be the star, but on nights if he's not having a game, he is just as happy to see his teammates doing well. You know what I mean? Like LaMelo's the type of guy where he could have 30 points, but if you just made two straight shots, he's gonna pass you the ball. You know what I mean? Like he's not he's a ball centric guy, but he can very well play without the ball too. Like he doesn't have to have the ball to be happy.
he is a very unselfish player.
Yeah, it definitely, which is, I
That
think
it's
something that people couldn't say about him when he was younger. You know, whether or
I
not
th-
none of us personally knew him, but a lot of people said he had
yeah
that kind of selfish shoot first mentality where he seemed
I
to kind of lose that.
I think it kind of came with age. He got
Yeah.
older and realized, hey, I can't be acting like this. It's gonna get me in some predicaments that I don't want to be in. And I feel like it's just helped his game overall. And being unselfish like he is now, that's a very rare, in my opinion, to come across it like this early. What is he, like 20?
He's like literally our age. He's like 20, 21, 22. He's
Yeah, like it's very, in my opinion, it's very rare to find someone that young to have that selfless team first mentality. Because you get a lot of young bucks, they want to come in there's like, yo, give me the ball, I'm gonna get mine.
well, heck, I mean,
It's kind of refreshing.
you look at Lonzo's the same way. That those two just kind of they play unselfish ball, and no pun intended with their last name, but like they're just they're unselfish. They move the ball. If they're
Like
having their hot games, they take what I mean. Like
yeah,
they're. I mean, obviously, I think LaMelo has the higher ceiling and more star potential than Lonzo, but like I said, it's just refreshing to see. I don't want to call him a superstar, but like a star level player on a team like that. Just he can kind of like phase, like I don't want to say phase in and out because that sounds bad, but like like I said, if somebody else is having a good game, he will let them have their good game. He doesn't have to be like, oh well, now I need to score because I'm the star.
yeah, he's playing like I said, a very great brand of basketball that I love seeing. Now I admit when he was younger and he was coming up through, I didn't really like him.
Mm-hmm.
But watching him play is kind of changing my whole thing because, like I said, you don't see a selfless player that will pass the ball and do all these things like he is at this kind of age. And like you said, let's just say, isn't PJ Washington on the Hornets?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
they
let's
run
just
what I don't know exactly their starting lineup, but I think they run something similar to like um LaMelo, Rozier, uh Oubre. I think Gordon Hayward's still on that team. PJ Washington. And then their biggest issue for years has been not having a center.
they did kind of have a center in Cody Zeller, but he didn't really pan
And
out.
ever since Montrez came over from Washington, he's been pretty like he's been better than anything they've had. It's like they've always lacked the rim protection, and you're not really going to get rim protection from Montrez. I mean, he's like a 6'8" center.
Yeah. What I'm saying is like, because I know PJ Washington can shoot the three a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like if PJ hits like two straight threes, LaMelo's not gonna look at him and be like, you ain't shooting anymore. He's gonna be like, yo, come on, shoot again.
Yeah.
Shoot again. You made that one, shoot again. You missed. Shoot another one. You got this.
Yeah.
He encourages his teammates to do better, not do worse.
And, even when he's on the sideline, like you see him getting hyped with the rest of the team. He's like, it's just, I don't know. It's good to see somebody that. And now this is not a shot at this person in particular, but like look at the contrast between LaMelo and Zion. Obviously, LaMelo's not dealing with injury, Zion is, but LaMelo's still there, even if he's not playing. He's still there in the silence, cheering for his team every night, excited to be there. Where Zion, up until just recently, hasn't even been to the games.
Yeah, you're Zion. You're an NBA player. If you want to show up to a game, they're going to find a way to get you into the game to sit on the bench or whatever it may be. It might not just be he just doesn't want to be in New Orleans anymore.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't it his quote unquote his team, which was kind of like his family, friends? Was that last offseason or just this one? Like said he didn't want to be in New Orleans. Like then he came out and said, "Oh, what?" I think that was the interview where they asked him. And he goes, "Well, that's a great question." It didn't really answer it, and it's a weird thing. I think obviously, like I don't know for sure. I don't have any facts on this. But it seems like Zion doesn't really want to be there. And I think the only reason he's even showing up at this point is because he got dragged for not being there. You know what I mean? I think at this point he's just trying to save his face.
Yeah, I can understand that. The other thing he might be is getting fined for not being there.
I don't know if he does. I don't know. I feel like if he was, we'd know about it. But
So that's hard to say because he is injured, so he kind of has
yeah,
a
it's not like
rule
the Ben
to
Simmons situation.
yeah, where
He's
Ben
like,
Simmons just didn't fucking show up.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons just like, I ain't showing up.
Yeah, but okay, that was a little bit of a tangent. Just talk about recent games, but go back to your scoring.
Yeah, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns with that 60-point game, I feel like it didn't come out of nowhere, but it kind of did come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, we knew he was a good scorer, and we knew he could get like 30, maybe 40, but to put up 60.
Yeah, like I said, first center since Shaq to do it in 2000. So it's been over 20 years since a center put up 60.
And then Kyrie, he just dropped 60. He dropped a 50-point game and a 60-point game in about a week. He dropped that 50 on the 8th and then the 60 on the 15th.
Now, real quick, going back to that Karl Anthony. Well, yes, but I think it is actually incredible right now the center talent we have in the NBA, because I feel like ever since I really started watching basketball in like the early 2010s, late 2000s, you've had your really good centers like your Dwight Howard or like your Joakim Noah for a year, or you know what I mean. But like, you really was not a surplus of superstar centers, and now you're coming out with obviously Embiid and Jokic, which are two of the MVP frontrunners. Bam Adebayo, Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert. If you want to, like, you know what I mean, like, obviously great defensively. Like, I just feel like obviously not every team, but you can look at a lot of teams and go, okay, they have a really good center, or they have a good center. You know what I mean? I feel like this is the first time in a long time that we've been able to say that. I think, I mean, obviously Giannis isn't a center, but he's a big man. I feel like this next decade, the 2020s, is going to be dominated by big men.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're gonna have your guards, like you're gonna have Ja and stuff like that. But I think especially with some of the drafts coming up, like with Chet Holmgren.
Yep, Pablo.
You know what I mean?
Banchero,
yeah, it's just
Smith.
It's gonna be a new centric because we went from the big men in the early 2000s, then the 2010s we started going towards guards, and then now in the early 2020s it's guards. But I feel like it's going to be another stretch of like 10, maybe 15 years. I think it's going to revert back to dominant big men.
And the thing is too about dominant big men nowadays versus dominant big men in the 2000s is you have a lot of big men nowadays playing like guards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Cat was hitting step back threes on people.
And I think that's the thing that really had to get time to catch up. Because when Curry came into the league, you were shooting threes, but you weren't really shooting threes. Curry came in, and that, what was it, 16 Warriors team, 2015?
Yeah, okay.
Rejuvenized that, and it just took off with it. And then it was kind of like, well, if you're not shooting threes, it's going to be hard to keep up if they're making them.
The NBA became shooting threes and driving to the basket. That's all the NBA became at that point in time.
Yeah, and it was just kind of just like, well, there's no mid-range shot, because if you're taking a mid-range shot, you might as well just step back and take a three.
Yep.
It's a little bit, the percentage of it's going in is going to go down, but you get more points. And then when that happened, the big men kind of just sat back and were just like, well, we just got to take a back seat right now.
Yep.
And then now this new kind of like quote unquote new generation is coming in, and some of the older players are learning to shoot. And it's just coming full circle to where these big men are going to be pulling from deep, and they can go in and they can just dunk on you like Embiid and Cat's been doing.
I mean, now, if I'm forgetting anybody, let me know. But off the top of my head, look at the centers that realistically and do bring the ball up to court on inbounds. Embiid and Jokic do it. Cat can do it sometimes. Bam Adebayo, depending on the situation, can hold the ball. Hell, Bam Adebayo is like, this is going to be controversial. Maybe not. I would rather have Bam Adebayo defensively than I would Rudy Gobert, because Rudy Gobert is the better rim protector for sure. But the thing about Bam Adebayo is he can switch on the guards and hold his own for a little bit. He can play the paint. He might not be a a rim protector, but I think he's a paint protector. And what I mean by that is that, he might not block your shot, but he's gonna miss it. You know what I mean?
He's going to body you as you're going up to make it
Yeah.
tougher.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you on that because we've seen in the playoffs, and it was last year. We were talking about this a couple episodes ago. You go small ball against the Jazz, you're putting Rudy on an island outside.
The Terrence Mann game, he dropped like 40-some on him.
It's just crazy. Like, we consider him depoy, but at the same time, it goes, yeah, he's great interior. He's probably one of the best shot blockers in the league, if not the best.
Mm-hmm.
But how is his perimeter defense compared to his interior defense? Let's just throw stats out the window and let's just look at how they defend the ball. That's why I think we should that's Giannis or Jaren Jackson Jr. because we all know that Jaren Jackson and and Giannis can defend outside and inside at a relatively high rate. And that's why I also think Mikal Bridges is getting the Marcus Smart treatment.
Yep.
You're defending one of arguably the best player on the team. You're holding them down, but you're not getting recognition because you're not getting the stats.
Yep. And now, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a value to being probably the best rim protector in the league, and there's definitely a very high value of being that. I think the problem with the Jazz is that their entire defense is, hey, push him to the paint so Rudy Gobert can block it. They don't have perimeter defenders. I think if you gave that Jazz team two very solid perimeter defenders, you would see Rudy Gobert get exposed less. Because, like I said, their entire defensive scheme, and like I said, this could be on Quinn Snyder, is, hey, hold him at the perimeter for a couple of seconds, and then don't let him shoot a three. Push him inside so Rudy can get him. You know what I mean?
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like, so he's great at what he does, and obviously you can't expect Rudy Gobert at 7'1", 7'2" to do the same things Mikal Bridges and Marcus Smart do on the perimeter because they're smaller players. But I just feel like he's got to be able to at least hold his own for a few seconds until he gets a switch.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. Yeah. And with that Jazz team, I mean, even if they got we're talking about a Bridges or Marcus Smart that can take the best player and give them a little more security on defense, I think that would actually go a long way in helping them out.
Because, look at their best perimeter defender. Was it Royce O'Neal? And, no disrespect to Royce O'Neal, but he's not
in the same caliber as them too.
Not even close. He's decent what he does. That's really all he does. But, Conley went through a stretch of his career where he was a pretty good defender. He's kind of getting older. He's not quite that anymore. Donovan is, I'd say, maybe average, maybe slightly above average defender. Joe Ingles, well,
it's Joe Ingles.
I just feel they need, maybe that's the next step after Mike Conley to get them a. Who I would have loved. Obviously, he wouldn't have fell that far in the draft, but if they could have got somebody like Davion Mitchell this year,
Mitchell.
Yeah, not even for the name, but Davion is that guy. I'm pretty sure he has a nickname, but off night or something like a very good young defender, or potentially very good young defender. He's pretty solid now. But if they could have got somebody in that backcourt with Donovan Mitchell that could help with a perimeter defense, I think that would have been fantastic for them.
I got you. I know exactly who they should have got, but they're not going to do it because he doesn't get the time to really go out and play. That's Javon Carter, played at West Virginia.
Yep.
He was a 4-year senior. He made the I think are they in the Big 12?
Where was he at?
West Virginia.
I don't think so.
Are they in I can't. Well, whatever conference they're in, he made the all-defensive team at least 2 or 3 seasons out of there. He was one of the best defenders on that West Virginia team that I think made it to the Sweet 16 his senior year, or close to it. He's a good defender, and he can shoot the three. There was a game when he was playing with the Nets. He went off for 20 points off the bench, and no one was kind of just oh, look at him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's been great for the Suns this year since Chris Paul's been out.
Oh yeah, I think he's one of them underrated 3-and-D guys that can actually handle the ball a little bit. That could actually take a little bit of pressure off Mitchell if need be, but I doubt they're gonna try and get him.
And no, I'm mistaken. He's He's on the Bucks now.
Yeah, to say he moved around. I know he was on the Suns. He was on the Nets earlier in the year.
Yeah, that's
But
not bad. I was thinking back a couple of seasons ago, but he's on Milwaukee now, because he was traded. He was traded at the deadline, I think.
I mean, hey, Milwaukee just got another good perimeter defender to put up there if they need to with Drew Holiday.
But yeah, and then like the scoring with Kyrie. I mean, like I said, I mentioned this. I think a couple episodes ago when we were talking about the NBA duos. Kyrie on the offensive side of the ball is legitimately the most gifted scorer I think I've ever seen in my life, personally, with my own eyes. Like obviously, there's Jordan and people like that, but I never got to personally watch them. But I think with in Allen Iverson, okay, didn't really get to see him play either, besides like the very very end of his career. But I think the things Kyrie Irving does on the offensive side is unmatched.
No, now I know what you're saying. Let's not get it twisted. Kevin Durant, he can score, but it's in a different way. You know what I mean?
Kevin Durant is probably, I think it's tough because Kevin Durant's one of the best scorers of all times too. But he can just literally shoot over anybody in the league.
That's what I mean. I know what you're saying with Kyrie. He's one of the most from what we've seen and we watched.
Yeah,
he's probably one of the most gifted or craftiest scorers in the league. Kevin Durant, he'll shoot over you. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to get too crafty. He doesn't have to get quote unquote in his bag to do anything. He can literally just go up and shoot over you.
And he does.
You know what I mean?
Kevin Durant definitely gets in his bag and does
some
shit.
He doesn't have to. He just does it sometimes, I think, just to do it.
I mean, watching Kyrie Irving play is just, I mean, I don't know. It's like it's love him or hate him. He's just so I just beautiful to watch him play the sport of basketball, because like I've just never seen somebody, when they get to the rim, he literally has 50 different ways he could finish at the rim.
Oh yeah. I mean, he does he could do a reverse to where he switches hands and goes up the other side. It's just so many, like you said, so many different ways that he can finish, and it's all but impossible to actually defend him when he drives in.
Now, speaking of, last night the 76ers were playing, was it the Raptors last night? Yeah, the 76ers and Raptors were playing last night. Joel Embiid drove to the basket on, I think it was 2 or 3 defenders, and then he kind of tried to foul bait it. You know how Joel Embiid can be sometimes. He kind of foul baited and went up underneath and just kind of flicked the ball up high in the air, and it bounced and went right in. I mean, that was like some Kyrie shit from Joel Embiid. You know what I mean? I don't know if he was actually trying to make it or just trying to draw the foul and won, but he kind of went up and under the basket and flicked it up high in the air and it went in. I'm like, oh my God.
Branching off of that, the Embiid baiting fouls, I seen a chart, and it had the top 5 players with the most free throws made. Joel Embiid and James Harden were 1 and 5. They have more made free throws than they do field goal made.
That is ridiculous.
Joel has like 555 made free throws this year so far.
Jesus.
It's insane. And if you take Joel and Harden and combine their free throws made, it is more than any combination in the league. If you take 3-4, if you take 2-3 or 3-4 or 2-4, you're not going to be able to get that many. It's insane.
That is well, because one thing I have noticed about James Harden, especially since he's been on the 76ers, is this man misses a lot of jump shots every game. Now, James Harden's always been a volume scorer. He's always taking a lot of shots, but his days in Houston, he made them. You know what I mean?
He's just chucking them now.
Yeah, at this point in Brooklyn, and I think especially now on this 76ers team, every time I look in, he's 3 for 13, 9 for 20. And 9 for 20 is not bad. Like 5 for 50. Like he's just always taking so many shots. And they're just, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of that comes down to the 76ers traded away their shooting in that trade. So now they don't really have perimeter shooters.
I mean, they got Harden, who, like you said, has been shooting terrible so far. I mean, they got Tobias Harris.
who's not exactly a sniper.
He's not. I mean, who else even can shoot on
You have
that
Danny
team?
Green if he ever decides he wants to make a jump shot,
That
but that's
yeah,
second. But like Seth Curry is legitimate, like as like a factual one of the best 3-point shooters in league history.
yeah. From a statistical
Statistical
standpoint,
standpoint. And they gave that up, and I think they're missing that more than they really thought. Because like obviously you're like, would I rather have Seth Curry or James Harden? It's like, okay, yeah, James Harden, but now you're starting to miss the impact that Seth Curry had for you.
yeah, it comes down to a point too, when it's just like, do I want the better player or do I want the person who's gonna fit what we're doing? And I
Yep.
feel like Seth Curry fit what they were doing better than James Harden, because Curry didn't need the ball in his hands. You could give it to Embiid down low, and if they double, kick out, or you could have Tobias handle the ball. And if something happened, there's Curry in the corner, kick it to Curry, he's gonna make it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Still to this day, like for sure, James Harden is still a fantastic player in the NBA. I just really don't. I don't. And I know people have said this, and I know they've been winning since James Harden's been there for sure. I think I saw a stat the other day that they were at 8-2. The record might be a little bit different now, but I think they were like 8-2 since Harden's been there. In a 7-game series, I don't like the fit of James Harden and Joel Embiid. I think, obviously both of them have had their playoff woes in the past. I don't think if you're Joel Embiid, you want your guard taking 20 shots a night and making 4 of them.
It also comes down to, I can understand that, but it also comes down to the fact that James Harden isn't really going to listen to anybody.
No,
you know what I mean? And after Houston and stuff, like, he's not going to listen to anybody. And I feel like if Joel Embiid went up and said, "Hey, don't be taking 20 shots. You're going like 3 for 20. Don't be doing that. We got to win this game. We got to win this series." I feel like it's not going to go over well.
Harden's going to be coming to the next game in a fat suit.
Now, see, I just honestly, even though Harden is a really good player, I feel like it's coming to his time to where he's not going to be in the league here soon, just because of how he's been acting and how he's not consistent anymore.
I think because of his name, people are still going to give him jobs up until he legitimately can't play basketball anymore. I think he's going to be in the league, but I don't think you're going to see him
dropping 40, 50.
He's going to be an all-star for sure. Because, half of James Harden, 3/4 of James Harden is still better than 80% of the league.
Oh, yeah.
And you're still going to see him get the all-star. But, I don't think you're going to see him go in another dominant MVP type run anymore. I just don't think that's in his tank anymore.
I think his peak is kind of what we are seeing from Damian Lillard. His peak, he was playing great. They didn't get a team around him. And now it's wasted, and he's still trying to play. Well, Damian Lillard is still doing Damian Lillard things, but James Harden is trying to play like he did 4 or 5 years ago, and it's not working, and he's not trying to adjust. Like, he's not saying, okay, this isn't working. Let me start switching to be a catch and shoot person and handle the ball a little less. You know what I mean?
And I mean, like I said, that like 8 to 10 year stretch he was in Houston, James Harden was a top 10 player in the league every year. He had an MVP. He probably could have won a second MVP depending on that Westbrook season. Yada yada yada. But I don't know. It's tough because people aren't going to like that. And James Harden's not going to like the fact that maybe he has to transform his game. But the players you see stay in the league long are the players who can transform their game. Now, outside of you have your people like Kevin Durant, Curry, LeBron, your superstars who are like generational talents can still be that guy later in their career. But a lot of guys, if you want to stick around, you're going to have to kind of conform your game. I mean, I think Brook Lopez is like a perfect example of that. When he was at the Nets, he was a low post guy, in the post, back to the basket, boom, boom, boom. Then that kind of big man is getting phased out of the game. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna learn how to shoot. And now he's still, when he's healthy, the starting center for a championship level team in the Bucks, because he transformed to what the NBA needed him, or what the Bucks needed him to be, instead of instead of being like, well, no, I don't want to do that. That's not who I am. You know what I mean? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like the players that can stick around are the players that can kind of mold themselves to what their team needs.
And I mean, you gave the for the superstars generational talents, but even then, look at LeBron. I think his 3-point percentage is the best it's been through his whole career right now, or it's up there.
He's also the only person on that team that can shoot. So
that is true. But yeah, I mean, even he's doing it. He's going to the 3-ball a little bit more because he knows that his body isn't going to be able to take what it used to. You know, he's even preparing for that. And it just comes to a point when you just got to humble yourself. And you just got to, even though it might hurt you for your ego, you just got to take that so you can keep playing and still put up decent numbers and not shoot terribly.
And like I said, people like LeBron, KD, those are anomalies. You know what I mean? Like not every player is going to be able to be in their prime until their mid to late 30s. It just doesn't happen.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's a reason LeBron spends $1 million every year on his body to keep himself in the shape he's in, and you can even tell, you know, he's still okay. He still looks great, pause, but you know, like you can see. I think this season for sure, you can see he just looks older in the face. Like he doesn't look quite as. I mean, like you can tell he's he's getting older. You know what I mean?
And it's just the human body. No matter how much money you pump into your body, it's going to get to the point when you start deteriorating.
And I think that is what you're seeing with Russell Westbrook. Westbrook has always been a player that's relied heavily on his athleticism. Like, I don't want to say he's not skilled because obviously you have to be a skilled player to get into the NBA. But 90%, 85% of Russell Westbrook's game has been athleticism and effort. And now that he's in his 30s and you're seeing his athleticism start to not like go away, but he's starting to kind of, you know, get to that older point of his playing career at least. He can't do the same things, and he's having to rely on his basketball skill, and it's just not the same Westbrook you're used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, and he's also another good example that, you know, this offseason, he might just have to bite the bullet. Mm-hmm. If he wants to stay in the league, he's got to get a reliable 3-point shot.
And you know what? I'm a huge Russell Westbrook fan. I am not a stan of Russell Westbrook. I'm very, very aware of how, you know, his flaws. But I've been a Russell Westbrook fan for as long as I can remember watching basketball. I've just loved his heart and his effort on the court.
Yeah.
And I really thought his story of, you know, staying with OKC after, you know, KD left and like having that built-in rivalry of, man, I played for you for this long and you left us, like I'm gonna take you down. I love that from Russell Westbrook. I thought he was somebody that was just gonna be in OKC for the rest of his career, to be honest. But then, you know, things happened that the team was looking to go younger. They didn't want to pay him. Understandable, you know, that's the NBA business. But I feel like ever since he has left OKC, each season, I mean, now I understand with the Wizards last year, he was not bad. He was pretty decent. But I think ever since he's left the Thunder, each season you're starting to see less and less and less and less from Westbrook to now the point with the Lakers, he is legitimately since All-Star break shooting like under 10% from three. And he is more detrimental to a team than he is helpful. And now I know he did have, you know, the game tying shot to send to overtime the other night, which was coming off the previous shot that hit the top of the backboard. We're not going to forget about top of the backboard, and then still had the confidence to pull the thing and make it, you know. And I think that's something about Westbrook that, like you said, he's got to understand that he's not the MVP level triple double king that he used to be. And you know, he can still get triple doubles here and there, which, you know, is great, but it's not what it used to be. But I'm worried about Westbrook because I think he has the skill level to be able to transform his game to stay. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know if he has. I don't know if he has the shooting skill to be able to be a role player. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like, what kind of role player is he really going to be?
I mean, that is true, and I feel like it's also another thing, like with the James Harden, it's going to be the ego that he's not going to want to take a backseat role.
Yeah, and you
know what I mean.
And it, you know, that's as a fan of Westbrook, I really hate the fact that we might be seeing the end of him. You know what I mean? It really does suck to see because, you know, that 3-year stretch in the MVP when he was averaging triple doubles for 3 straight years. I mean, that was just some of the best basketball I've ever seen. People might say, "Oh, he's stat pen, blah blah blah," whatever. Averaging a triple double for 3 straight seasons is insane, considering when he did it the first time, he was the second player ever to do it, and then he did it for 2 more years straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Oscar Robinson did it first, and then he was the second one to do it, but the first one to do it through multiple seasons, I believe.
Yeah. So it was just, it was groundbreaking for the time. I just think, I think he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think anybody can really, being an MVP, I don't think anybody's really going to deny. I mean, people are obviously going to deny because a lot of people hate Westbrook.
Yeah.
But, I think he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I just think he's at the point of his career where it's just, it might be, he's still going to play for a couple more years because it's he's going to.
It might just be wraps for him.
Yeah. Which sucks, but, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's only so much you can do because, like the saying says, Father Time is undefeated.
Yep. Unless you're LeBron James.
I wouldn't go that far yet.
He's been good. That team just absolutely sucks.
I saw a stat. It's like if he doesn't drop 50 points or he doesn't drop an insane amount of points, it's guaranteed a loss.
Well, yeah, I think after the All-Star break, and now obviously that changed because they beat the Raptors, but if he did, they were 0-8 in games he didn't score 50 points in the All-Star after the All-Star break, which is insane to be asking of a 37-year-old. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just that's just insane.
And that's another. That one's really, a lot of people hate him now, but that's gonna be a hard one to see leave the NBA.
LeBron.
I mean, he's been in the NBA my entire life. Well, he got drafted 2 years after I was born. That's just gonna be absolutely insane in a bad way to see him not in the NBA. I'm not ready for the day we tip off and he's not in the league.
Yeah, I mean, it's also kind of translating to the NFL. You know what I mean? Like we had our prime football growing up. It was Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady,
Eli Manning, all of them kind of.
Eli Manning, all of them are gone except really Tom Brady. All them old guys.
He's still got a solid 10 years left. He'll be all right.
I mean, he says how old is he? Is he in his 40s yet?
Oh, he's 43, 44.
He said he wants to play to his 50. He said it was a pot. So him and Gronk were doing something, and Gronk asked the question, "Do you think he could play to your 50?" And he goes, "Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays to his 50."
I think it's gonna be tough, but I mean, hey, he's getting there, so I cannot take it away from him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just me and my sister were talking about that. Like all the quarterbacks we grew up watching they were just slowly going out, and we don't realize it until now, to where it's really just Tom Brady.
Yep. I mean, same thing with I grew up watching Calvin, Julio. Julio and DeAndre Hopkins are a little bit more recent, but I still grew up watching them. T.O., there's I'm definitely forgetting a lot of, but we grew up watching so many fantastic receivers, and obviously T.O. and Calvin are retired. Julio is just it sucks. I hate seeing players that were so good in their prime fall off a cliff. It really sucks to see. You know what I mean? Like this past season from Julio just was terrible, and it sucks to see from a player that at for a couple of years I considered the best receiver in the NFL. Antonio Brown, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand it. I mean, even if we switch, wide receiver, even when we look at the running backs, we had a lot of good running backs. We had LT, we had Jamal Williams, Jamal Charles. That's right. We just had a list of really good running backs. Le'Veon Bell, he kind of fell off a cliff in my opinion. He was pretty good. We had a list of really good running backs, and they just started falling off. And it's just father time.
Yeah, especially when look at like Todd Gurley. He had a 2-3 year stretch where he was a great top running back, and then boom, he's just like that.
Yeah,
obviously, I know he had knee issues, but just like that, boom, they're gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and hell, he even played in the Super Bowl, and I think the next season, poof, gone.
Yep, he started dealing with some injuries. I think it was arthritis in his knee, that they didn't want to tell anybody about. And obviously, like that's no stuff to play with. Good for him for. I
Yeah.
think he's still been playing here and there, but good for him for like taking his health seriously and that kind of thing, because at the end of the day, your health's more important than football. But yeah, like I said, it just sucks seeing players that were so dominant just kind of a shell of their former self.
Yeah, and I feel like in the NBA, it doesn't happen that often because it gets to a point when it's just like they just look and say, I can't do this anymore, and they retire. And some retire a little sooner than they should, but they look at their health and they're just like, hey, I can't keep doing this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Speaking of that, you want to transition into the moves that have been going on recently in the NFL?
Yeah, the NFL offseason has been insane. This is like the most insane offseason I can remember in the NFL for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I think today alone, Jameis Winston re-signs with New Orleans. Marcus Mariota signs with the Falcons after the Falcons traded Matt Ryan to the Colts for at least a third-round pick. There could be more. Not 100% sure on that. Then you had that Deshaun Watson trade.
Now let me ask you this. Do you think Marcus Mariota is enough for the Falcons not to trade for Baker Mayfield?
I don't know.
Because I think I saw the two teams linked to Baker were the Colts and the Seahawks. And obviously, like, they're not going to send him to the Colts now. So does that mean Baker's going to be the new quarterback of the Seahawks? And they just traded for Drew Lock, but then again, Drew Lock's not exactly, you know what I mean?
I feel bad for Noah Fan. He tried to get rid of Drew Lock, and he got with Drew Lock.
Now, if Seattle trades for Baker, I'd rather have Baker than Drew Lock. It's not much.
Oh
better,
yeah,
but,
it's not much better, but it's just a little bit better. But I mean, even with Drew Lock, I mean, you still got Ty Lockett, you got Metcalf.
Yeah, but hey, they've been. I think they've been looking. I think if I remember a couple weeks ago, I read this, or it might have been, I don't know, but they were answering phone calls for Tyler Lockett that he wasn't safe. Now, obviously, he hasn't been traded yet, but I don't know if Seattle wants to get Baker Mayfield, because with trading Russell Wilson, releasing Bobby Wagner, I think you're sending yourself into a rebuild.
I think that could be it, and that's another reason why they got Drew Lock, was because of maybe going through this rebuilding phase, and they might sometime this season try and get rid of someone like Metcalf, Lockett, and Fant.
That's gonna be tough, because now I can definitely see them shopping around Lockett, but I understand going to rebuild, but do you want to give away a great talent like DK yet, because he's still so young?
I mean, I can see I mean, it's tough.
Because he can still be a part of your rebuild in 3-4 years. When you have a better team, he could still be in his prime. He could be into his prime at that point. You know what I mean? Like, he's like in his early 20s, mid-20s. Like, I think DK is young enough that you can keep him through your rebuild. Now, if he wants to stay through your rebuild, that's another question. But you can keep him through your rebuild. Tyler Lockett, obviously, on the other hand, is a little bit older. By the time your rebuild's done, he'll be in his 30s, and it's like, well, you don't really want a 30-plus-year-old receiver on a, you know what I mean? So,
hey, Steelers are looking for wide receivers. We'll trade for Lockett.
Yeah, we need one to replace Cedric Wilson we just
lost. Let's see what other moves happened. Deshaun Watson to the Browns, and that happened a day after Baker said, I want to get traded, and the Browns are like, no.
Yeah, the Browns told him no on Watson, and they're like, okay, now you can leave. That's tough, because I've always been a huge fan of Deshaun Watson. Obviously, now that all this stuff came out the past year, it's really, obviously we don't know if it happened or not. Like, I understand, like, getting a charge, but that doesn't mean
he did it.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, he still could have done it. Like, so it's definitely like, it's tainted my view of Deshaun. Hopefully he didn't do it, but I don't know. I think it's, with 22 different accusations coming out, I think it's kind of tough. Like, no, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I think if it was 1 or 2, you can maybe make the case that it could be whatever. But 22, that's a lot.
And apparently, when the Browns were talking with the Texans on a trade. Apparently, the Browns never called Watson's attorney to talk to any of the 22 women. They just did the trade.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's a sticky situation I really want to get into because that's kind of controversial.
Yeah.
But it's just, yeah.
And with that new contract that Deshaun Watson's getting, if you combine Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes' guaranteed money, if you add them together, Watson is getting 80% of what they're getting as guaranteed.
That is wild.
Yeah. And if you look at resumes for Rodgers and Mahomes, they got what? 2 Super Bowls, 5 MVPs or some shit like that.
Yeah, they have multiple Super Bowl appearances. Well, at least Mahomes has multiple Super Bowl appearances.
Yeah.
I don't think Rodgers.
I know he made it to 1 against the Steelers.
Yeah, and they won that one. The Packers won that one. Okay, then yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure it's only one.
It's just still crazy. Multiple MVPs, multiple Super Bowl appearances combined. And this guy who's been on a shelf for a year because of them allegations.
I think it's crazy to think Deshaun hasn't been playing. I'm sure he's been in the training facilities and all that.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying when I mean on a shelf, I mean he hasn't been in a game.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I mean?
No, I understand what you were saying. I'm just saying for the people listening that just because we say on a shelf doesn't mean there's like, oh, he hasn't been playing. He definitely has been practicing, doing his game drills and stuff like that. And like natural skill doesn't go away. Deshaun Watson is still going to be a great quarterback when he plays now. But you also have to worry about, is he going to get suspended? Because if he gets suspended for the whole season, well, then the Browns just took you're paying a guy that much money to have him sit on the bench the whole year because he got suspended.
Yeah, and another thing is that the NFL has to be careful now because if you look with Calvin Ridley, he took like 3 or 4 weeks in, he said, you know what, I'm gonna step away, focus on my health. And then they found out he was gambling while away from the team, and they suspended for the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
And if they only suspend Deshaun Watson for 4 weeks, they're saying that gambling is more of a crime than, you know what I mean? So they got to be very careful with what they do.
The NFL has always been terrible with suspensions. Terrible.
Oh.
I'm a Cowboys fan, true and true. But now, and then this is another weird one because a couple years ago when Zeke was, all these charges came up about Zeke, and he was similar to Watson. He wasn't charged with anything. You know what I mean? Like, and even Zeke had some proof come out that the girl was lying. So it kind of cleared up that, Zeke was innocent, but the NFL still suspended him 6 games, which was kind of like, okay, you found him innocent, but you're still gonna. That's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, it's just.
But then you look back at Ray Rice. He when the news came out, what happened with Ray Rice, he was suspended 2 games by the NFL. Now, and then the video came out of what had happened, and then he was suspended for longer. But what really made it a shitty situation was Roger Goodell saw the first before anybody else, suspended him 2 games. The public saw the video and was outraged, so he extended the. So it's like they're never consistent on on what their lengths are. 2 guys could do the same crime, and one guy might get 2 weeks, and the other guys will get 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, it's terrible how the NFL is.
It's very inconsistent, just like officiating.
Yeah.
Other news, Amari Cooper getting traded from the Cowboys.
Yeah, then they restructured his contract anyway in the Browns, which pisses me off.
Juju Smith-Schuster signing with the Chiefs. I mean,
that's been for like 2 years now.
Yeah, I mean, all I gotta say, I'm a Steelers fan. I liked Juju when he first came in, but I don't know. The past year or two, it's just been something about him that I don't really like. And in my opinion, he went.
Dances.
What?
All them TikTok dances.
I'm not getting into it. But the only thing I gotta say, he was like, you know what? I couldn't make it as a number 1 option on a team. So let me flip around and become a 3rd option. And then he goes,
He's gonna be
third option. He's not getting put above Reek or Kelsey, but he's still going to get his touches. But it's just he says, I want to win. I want to win. Well, maybe if you played and actually got open, maybe it would have been a little bit different. But it is what it is.
Yep. How about Joe Burrow and the Bengals, man? They've signed 3 new offensive linemen. They just Lyle Collins today, I'm pretty sure, which the Cowboys dropped for just because they wanted to. One of the best right tackles in the league. They're like,
Joe Burrow got sacked, I think, a season high 70 times, and was like 16 times in the postseason.
I think it was 19 in the postseason and 7 in the Super Bowl.
I was gonna say it was something insane, and they still won. No, they lost.
Well, they won in the playoffs. They made the Super Bowl, but they lost.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I meant. But it's just insane how he still did that, and it's just now they're redoing the offensive line. Mr. Joe Shiesty is gonna be someone that you don't want to see in the playoffs.
I really do like the Bengals. I thought their run was fantastic. I just worry that they had themselves a 2015 Carolina's Panthers run where they have that one season where everything just worked out for them, lose the Super Bowl, and then just don't go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that could happen, but
I hope it doesn't. But it's tough. It's definitely tough because I think this Bengals team is better than that Carolina. Yeah. Like I know Cam was the MVP, but if you look at that team, they really weren't very good. It was just kind of Cam was just Superman this season, as he called himself. I remember watching the Super Bowl with my dad, and every time Cam would throw a pass, the receiver would bounce off his hand, bounce off, and it was like his leading receiver was like Ted Ginn, and Ted Ginn's never really been a receiver. He's been a returner. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know, but I really hope the Bengals are able to overcome that and make themselves like a dominant force in the AFC for years to come.
Oh yeah, I can totally agree with that. On the other moves, Davante Adams getting traded from the Packers to the Raiders.
Oh baby!
Wow, 2 days after Rodgers signed his new deal, and Rodgers knew it was going down.
If that doesn't show Aaron Rodgers' lack of caring, I don't know what else does. That has always been my critique with Rodgers. I've never been a fan of Rodgers because I've never liked his attitude. I feel like he's always had a me first attitude for as long as I can remember. He's a fantastic quarterback for sure, but he's always had that terrible attitude. And I think, if you're Aaron Rodgers and you're like, okay, we keep losing in the playoffs, we keep losing. Some of it's because of him. But then you're like, okay, well, maybe I'll give it a chance. Maybe do something. And then you see your best receiver, arguably the best receiver in the NFL, is like, actually, I'm going to leave. And he's like, well, I'm still going to be the highest paid quarterback, so I don't care. You know what I mean?
It also comes down to the fact that if you look at Tom Brady, he is taking pay cuts every single time he gets a new deal, just about. And he's been winning Super Bowls, and everyone else is taking this so much money. When Joe Flacco was still in the Ravens and he was doing his thing, he took that massive deal and they couldn't pay to get anyone around him, and then that Ravens team just sucked.
Mm-hmm. They and some of them they know that they know to get better they need to take a pay cut, but they don't want to take a pay cut. And which I get it, right? Like if I go to a job, say one job's I'm gonna pay you $25 an hour, the other job's I'll pay you $17 an hour. I'm gonna go to the $25 an hour job. I understand wanting your money, but I feel like personally, when you're talking about $200 million versus $150 million, I mean, Jesus, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Either way, you're getting a bag.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know, people just get so wrapped up in the money that they kind of forget that they're there to do a job, and then they look, and then they'll complain about the supporting cast behind closed doors or whoever they choose to do it. And then it's kind of just well, you kind of did it to yourself.
I mean, realistically, what the hell is Aaron Rodgers going to do with? I mean, he's already obviously had contracts to that entire career.
Allen Lazard.
What is Aaron Rodgers going to do with an extra $200 million?
By boat.
What's he gonna do? This man can already afford anything he wants. What's adding $200 million gonna do to it? Like, obviously, it's nice to have for sure.
More
But there's no
money
chance he's
for
gonna
his
buy.
kids.
Yeah, like there's just no chance he can even spend that much money.
I
Like,
wouldn't
okay,
put it past him.
I guess you
Yeah.
can. Yeah, but like you know,
Oh, but yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, and even then, Tom Brady he still made a bag through his career, and he's taking care of himself. He's done the whole thing, and he hasn't made as much as the quarterbacks around him, but he's been up for MVP how many years in a row now?
well, his wife's also a millionaire herself, I think, so that kind of helps him.
That is true, but I mean, still,
Yeah, for sure, he's definitely made. Yeah, I don't know. This has been a crazy offseason. I mean, the AFC West has been loaded this offseason.
Khalil Mack getting traded to the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
That was something else.
Randy Gregory getting signed by the Broncos. Russell Wilson getting traded to the Broncos. Let's see. The Raiders signed Chandler Jones, traded for Devontae Adams.
That I think I told you this last night when we were playing Madden, but there's a very realistic scenario to where every AFC West team gets into the playoffs, or only one misses. Stacked that division is.
You know, I think your Chiefs are your guaranteed lock into the playoffs.
Chiefs. I think Chiefs and Chargers are gonna be locks. I think Chiefs win the division.
I think the Chargers are a wild card. I don't know. The Chargers just have a long history of just not being able to, you know what I mean? Just not being able to really make it. So I think that's their like. Obviously, they have insane talent all across the board. They've added insane talent. I just feel like if any team is gonna fall on their face, it's gonna be the Chargers in that division.
Yeah, I can totally understand where you're coming from, but the other thing is they got a new coach.
Yeah,
they don't have Phillip Rivers anymore.
Yes,
they have Phillip Rivers would just throw that damn ball wherever he pleased and wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah,
that AFC West team is stacked.
Yeah, I mean, then you have the Broncos and the Raiders, and I don't know, like the division's obviously going to be way more competitive now, but I think people are going to start overhyping it to the point where it's like, if any of those teams goes under 500, it's going to be disappointment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
people have to lose every week. Somebody has to lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
not everyone can win.
Not every team in that division is going to have 10 wins. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you know. And another thing that worries me is about the Raiders is you get a top, probably the best receiver in the league in Devontae Adams, but I think you now have the worst quarterback in the division.
Yeah, I could see it saying that, but they have arguably the best tight end in the league.
Arguably, I don't think
he is the best tight end in the league. Darren Waller.
Oh, the 2K21 or not 2K, the Madden 21 days where he was the base tight end in the snappers. Oh my God, that was
awesome. Darren Waller. On the other news, Jaguars release linebacker Miles Jack picked up by the Steelers.
Yep, and then the Jags signed the entire league to maximum deals.
Who did they sign to a fat paycheck and he hasn't even had a 1,000-yard season?
Christian Kirk never had a 1,000-yard season, and they signed him a huge contract.
That's pretty wild.
The thing about the Jags is that I think people can sometimes see a active free agency as a good free agency. Like they were active and signed a lot of people, but I don't think they really got much better.
Yeah, I can't argue with you on that.
Because they got Brandon Sheriff from the Commanders, which is an upgrade. Brandon Sheriff's been a great guard for, forever.
And they do need help on that offensive line.
They franchise tag Cam Robinson, which is a lot of money to be paying to a very, very average tackle. But I guess you want to keep him for another year. Okay, whatever. You bring in Christian Kirk. Like I said, never had a 1,000-yard season. and you had a better quarterback in Arizona than you do currently in Jacksonville. Not saying Trevor Lawrence couldn't be better, but right now, Kyler Murray is better than Trevor Lawrence. And I mean, who was his competition? I mean, yeah, D-Hop was on the other side, but if D-Hop's on the other side of you, you should get more opportunity. You know what I mean?
Oh, hell yeah.
Where now he's going to a situation where he's in a receiving room with what? Laviska Shenault and Marvin Jones?
Do they still have DJ Chark?
No, I'm pretty sure he's leaving. I'm pretty sure they're getting, like, because he's been having some issues with that team. I'm going to look it up now. But,
it's just crazy what some teams will do.
He's from Detroit now. DJ Chark's in Detroit.
What the?
I know he was injured last year. Like, the thing about DJ Chark was that I think it was the 2019 season where he had 1,000 yards. Then he dealt with some injuries, and I don't think he never really lived up to the hype he set in that year. But he's still I think he's better than Christian Kirk. I think he's better than Laviska Shenault.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Jaguars team is just going to be bad again.
Yeah, they put a lot of money into mediocre players,
and you can't do that. You got to try and get some big names.
But then
even though you are the Jags.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what big name free agent is gonna be like? Oh, I want to go play in Jacksonville, especially receiver, because Lawrence just hasn't proved himself in the NFL yet. He's obviously fantastic college and high school quarterback, but in the NFL, he has not proved himself to be a top quarterback. So a top free agent receiver isn't going to want to go to a team that doesn't have a proven quarterback.
That is true. I mean, and in this draft coming up, I know they got a top pick. It's just hard to say who they should go. I mean, I could probably
don't they have the number one pick again? I'm pretty sure.
It's something like that. I mean, I feel like they should just go Evan Neal from Alabama, play tackle.
I feel like they could go anything at this point in time. Yes, you have Neal, you have Ikem Ekwonu, the tackle, I think who's probably going to go above Evan Neal. But then you have guys like Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, defensive. Like, I feel like they're at the point where you can take anything besides quarterback and running back, but you're not going to take running back at one.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you could take any of the edge rushers and you could take any of the tackles and you'd be fine.
I was going to say, even then, they could see, I just don't see them realistically looking for something to trade back. You know what I mean?
And now, now you put yourself in a stupid situation because you franchise tagged Cam Robinson to play tackle. So do you draft a tackle one? Like, yeah, okay, like, Ikem Ekwonu and Evan Neal are going to be better long-term than Cam Robinson, but you just paid Cam Robinson top tackle money for a year. You know what I mean? So you can't pay Cam Robinson that money and go, well, we're going to have to move you around, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, it really put themselves in a weird situation.
The only thing that I have against Aiden Hutchinson is that playoff game when that tackle from Georgia just absolutely destroyed him all game.
Yep.
That's
I don't like Aiden Hutchinson because I'm a Penn State fan and F Michigan, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that boat. I don't like Michigan. I'm not a Penn State fan, but I just don't like Michigan.
Yeah. Say what you want. I'm a Penn State fan, a Cowboys fan. I just like the blue and silver colors.
Let's see. What other big moves have happened this year? Tyrann Mathieu still not with a team. He is still up there.
And Bobby Wagner unsigned, but apparently, now this is from a couple different sources. Hasn't for sure happened yet. But a few different sources I've seen on Twitter are saying that the Cowboys are the front runners to sign Bobby Wagner right now.
I could see that. Y'all don't really have y'all still have Vander Esch?
We re-signed Vander Esch. But Bobby Wagner in his current state is still better than Vander Esch.
Yeah, I mean, even then, I know you have Micah Parsons playing a hybrid edge outside linebacker
and
slide Vander Esch to the other outside linebacker and put Bobby Wagner right in the middle.
And we just did sign Dante Fowler, who obviously is not, a premier edge rusher, but Dante Fowler is going to relieve some pressure that you lost with Randy Gregory.
Oh, yeah, that's going to happen. I think it's going to come again to where, did you guys even get any new corners or new secondary?
We re-signed Malik Hooker. I know they're in contract talks right now with Jerron Kearse. who I hope they really bring back. Curse wasn't a big name, but he just played phenomenal last season. In his to the only eyes, you know what I mean? Like his stats might not show it, but like watching the games, Curse was just great last year for us. So I know they're looking to resign him. Or at least I hope they do. I really do hope we do. You know, no new corners. Our corners were very much of a struggle last year. Very much of a struggle.
I mean, your
Trayvon.
one bright spot was Trayvon Diggs with all them interceptions he was getting.
Yeah. So that Cowboys team, I think, is going to take a step back this season for sure. We got rid of a lot of now because there's always two sides of it. We got rid of a lot of quality players, but we opened ourselves up from we were negative in the cap to when we cut everybody, I think we had the 7th most cap space. But the other side of that is that one, you lost your quality players, and two, the Cowboys have never been a team that's aggressive in free agency. They'll sign a bunch of like lower tier players, but I couldn't tell you how many big name free agents have came out and said that they want to play for the Cowboys, and they just don't offer them contracts. Like, I remember when that whole Earl Thomas thing happened. He said he wants to play for Dallas. He went as far as to go into the locker room after the Seattle-Dallas game and said, I want to play with you guys. And what did Jerry Jones do? Nothing. It's like people still want to play for Dallas because we're a huge market, but we just don't offer them contracts. I don't understand it.
It's similar. I hate to say it, but it's similar to the Steelers with the Rooneys. They just won't go out. They won't be aggressive. They want the cheap contracts. And if we're being honest, I'm surprised they gave TJ what they gave him.
Yeah. I'm also surprised you guys signed Miles Jack. That was a great signing.
Oh, I did not see that one coming. I just don't know if we should have got rid of Joe Schobert as soon as we did.
Yeah, I don't know. I think now you're banking on Jack and Bush to be your two sub linebackers, middle linebackers. And
I know we were talking about this, but the way they got that defense set up, even if you keep him, there's a scenario to where you can still have him in. You got on your D line if everyone comes back from last year, you got Hayward, Tyson Alualu, and Stephon Tuitt. You could easily move Tuitt to defensive tackle, move TJ down in rush 3, and then you could have Jack, Bush, Schobert, and Highsmith run them 4 linebackers, and then just have your DBs how you ever want to have them.
Yep. But okay, we've been at this for a bit over an hour now. I know I got some plans coming up here soon, so kind of wrap this up a little bit. Any final thoughts you want to give?
I mean, it's just gonna be. I feel it's probably one of the best free agencies in football. And this is going to be something interesting coming down to these NBA playoffs in the last, 10 games coming up here. It's going to be very interesting for seeding.
Definitely. I think professional sports right now are in a very, very good place. The NBA is wide open. There's no heavy favorites in the NBA right now. So I love that. I love not knowing every night which team's going to win. And then going to the NFL, as much as the Cowboys might have faltered, the league in general has been shaken up so much. It's going to be so much fun to see how it plays out.
Oh, yeah, I can agree with that 100%. And I think this coming NBA playoffs, there's going to be some lower seeds that make a little bit of noise, even though they possibly shouldn't be there. But you know what I mean? It's going to be something.
This is the year for lower seeds. And we might just be saying that just because of Brooklyn alone. But still, you know what I mean? Like Brooklyn going in as a 7-8 seed, and they realistically could make the conference finals. You know what I mean?
So it's gonna depend.
Yeah, for sure.
It's gonna depend where they play. If they have home court advantage compared to not having home court advantage with the whole mandate. But let's not get into that because we've been going on for longer than I thought we've been. But
all right, well, so yeah, it's been J&G Sports Network podcast. Another great episode. From J over here and G over there.
Y'all have a good one.
Yep, having a good one. Peace.